But we do have game number 3 here. Indonesia is our next map. And as a result of that, new civilizations will have to be selected. And having said that, also civilizations competent on the water will have to be selected as well. Samwise takes the British. Of course, he can no longer play German or French. Those also would be very undesirable on this map. Neither of those civilizations have schooners. And Mitoe taking Aztecs, possibly one of the strongest water civilizations as well. What do you think of these two?
So both players saying, I haven't played this map at all. No idea what I'm going to play. It is a water map. It is a map where you're going to get rewarded for your brilliance of water play, as we've seen Kinesi do a couple times. Unfortunately, Kinesi, rest in peace, gone.
Yeah, Ace a game.
Ace got 09 was able to pull out the rug from under...
That was a close series. Did you see that? Ace game versus Kinesi. 4-3, best of 7. It was... Oh, Samwise switching from British to Aztecs. Perhaps doesn't want to play into that. Of course, Aztec has some very strong capabilities on the water, and British might find it hard to keep up with them, even though they have access to cards like offshore support and just have an excellent water presence.
Yeah. I guess it looks like we're going to see an Aztec mirror. I think both players don't really have much idea of what they're doing on water, to be perfectly fair. When I think of both Sam and Mitoe, I think of very controlled land-based play with fairly cookie-cutter standard play builds, and I don't think either one of them will be in their element on this game. So we could see something incredibly one-sided where one player just has a slightly better build and just executes it better, or we could see something long and crazy because neither player has any clue what they actually want to do.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be interesting. Mitoe, though, has not clicked in yet. He is looking, perhaps still deciding. Maybe he's not. What do you know about Mitoe and his ability to play Aztecs? All I know is that he came over from the Mac community and then was surprised that Aztecs don't have steel traps because on their fan patch they do. And then he was
he has played them to some degree, I know, recently. It's definitely a civ that he's picked up somewhat recently. They've always been kind of considered like one of the higher mid-tier civs, in my opinion, like hovering around that 4, 5, 6 mark in terms of like this imaginary tier list that we have, which as a result of, banning the top 2 civs from that quote imaginary tier civ list means that they're actually like a really good civ in this current map pool. And when you start getting into deeper map pools where you have to play 3, 4 civs at a competent level, Aztec is definitely something that is worth investing time into learning. So recently I have seen him playing quite a bit of Aztec, and I don't know that it's something that up until at least somewhat recently he was super comfortable with, but I do know that he has been preparing with it, training it a little bit, and at the very least feels comfortable with it on land play. But on this water map, I'm very curious to see what will happen.
I was just updating the title of the stream to the game, to the current score and stuff like that. But it's gonna be interesting. Aztec, Mitoe have been practicing with, that you've alluded to. Samwise, I'm sure you'll be able to tell us more about Samwise, considering you both go back quite a long way to the early days of the Age of Empires. But this is Indonesia. Welcome back, everybody, to game number 3 in this series. The score is 2-0 in Samwise12's favour after 2 very close mirrors. And I'm going to stress that they were very close mirrors. The games were quite close and were won. They weren't decisively won. They went, fairly long games actually. But we do have Samwise12 in the north of the map in the colour yellow, playing as indeed the Aztecs, sporting with 2 wood crates and a coin, or 2, and the extra coin that you get on this map as well. Of course, it is Indonesia, another map made by Gaia. You do get an extra coin crate. This means both players, not going to be able to build both the market, fire pit, and a house. They're going to have to gather some wood for the final building there. But considering you start with extra coin, it's going to be quite easy to really just buy it, and not really anything what am I even trying to say?
Win.
Yeah.
Pay to win.
I'm trying to say something, but it's not coming out. But both players playing Aztec. We'll see what happens.
Also, on this map, an interesting thing to note is that you do have this extra little boat unit here, And we can see Mitoe starting to scoot that around.
Yep.
That guy is kind of interesting in the fact that he can ship. We can see that Sam has immediately tasked his to actually fishing.
Yeah.
And he can also gather treasures as well. So if there are any treasures that you can get, they're definitely worthwhile. I remember watching Kinesi play on this map.
Yeah, I remember. I know what you're going to say as well.
He used it to do this exact same thing that I hope we see Mitoe do. Basically patrol these little islands,
and
look for treasures, and shoot the treasure guardians and bug them
did he,
the land.
Did he not manage to get... Was he not quite in range? But yes, you could
Probably
shoot these panthers and then at a later point go get your villager, your explorer, and put him in there. And I think that's well worth doing. It is worth noting that this catamaran collects at about 1/3 of a villager's speed. It's very slow. It's not very good at collecting resources. And as a result of that, using it to do, cute, sneaky little things like killing panthers and getting treasures on the land is a good idea. Equally, in the same vein, you can, if, for example, if this 150 coin treasure was closer to the coast, you can use your explorer to shoot the treasure guardians that are in the water. It doesn't look like there are any treasures close enough to the land for that to be a thing, but these water treasures are very large in terms of the quantity of resources in them. Here it is, 125. That one is, I think, almost in range if you can get that great white. I've saw Kinesi doing that as well. Yeah. Exact same thing.
I just remember watching Kinesi do that for the first time I saw him do that. It was in a tournament game and he was playing against, I don't know, some guy who was playing against, it was French versus Port. And Kinesi, the way that Kinesi handled himself on this map, it looked like he had done it a million times because he just had his catamaran scooting around, shooting. Yeah, look at here. He's identified.
Oh, he's Mitoe able to do it here.
Scooting around, just picking off treasures on the land, and then he had bugged out the great white sharks on the other side. He was just scooting his explorer around in his little catamaran, doing as he pleased. Immediately sending town center wagons and stuff to the islands and starting to set up economies on all these little places. It was just he had done it a million times, and I guess that just comes with having played on water quite frequently, that he knows little things like that I just don't know about. But I thought it was so clever, and it just really made me happy. And I'm glad to see that Mitoe. It looks like he's packing up the full.
Getting on his way.
He's getting the crew in there, and they're gonna foreign lands here pretty quickly.
Yeah, Kinesi game is definitely one to watch. Do check out the ESOC game and Kinesi series. It will be available on the ESOC TV YouTube channel. Do check that out. But we do have both players now up to the next age. And by the looks of it, both players have villages in the center of the map and are looking here to build war huts very close to each other mid-map.
Yeah, I think this is the gentleman's agreement part of this, where neither player really wants to go water, and so they're both just trying to force the issue on land in hopes that either A, their opponent overdoes it on water and they're just able to crush on land and immediately win, or B, by just threatening pressure on land, the other player will feel out of his element trying to do land and water at the same time, and will just opt to just stick sheer land. And by the looks of it, that's what we're going to see. Neither player sending schooners or anything like that. Both players putting down forward war huts. Both players looking to apply some pressure. And both players similarly sending 700 wood with their fast stage up. Everything fairly standard for what we would consider aggressive Aztec play on a land map.
Yeah, fairly normal land play at this point in time. As you mentioned, aging up fast, 3 vills, 700 wood. But what I find interesting is Mitoe, as you mentioned, did go to the island here, gets that treasure, but also picks up these 2 yaks, which are on the island. And of course, there are 2 yaks on the other island as well that Samwise has not elected to get. He's just left that catamaran gathering food all this time and aged up a little bit quicker, possibly as a result of that. He's getting efficiency out of it in the same way that Mitoe is. But I think Mitoe, using it perhaps better, questionably. If it does, I would like to see him go and get those 2 yaks. And later on in the game, these are going to be really, really useful as opposed to not having them.
Oh, such a big raid here for Mitoe. Going to be able to pick up these 2 villagers essentially for free, and that's huge. I mean, if both players are playing aggressive, low equal styles, only gets 1 of the vills.
Yeah, only gets, or is he going to go for it? Does pick up the second one here, but at the cost, that used to be a meme, didn't it? At what cost?
Yeah, what cost?
Does lose, I think, possibly all of these Coyote runners, but they're all snared, all of them in combat here. Suddenly, Mitoe does pick up the 2 villagers, but is now 5 Coyote runners down, and villagers take 2 minutes to gather enough resources to make a new villager. It takes them 2 minutes to gather 100 food. So you think how late onto the game that's going to pay off, those 2 villager kills, compared to just losing 5? Where are these going?
What is this death march?
I don't know. Perhaps they were in the town center and he like right-clicked over there and
it's his 5 vill shipment. I guess he's
oh no! Oh dear, that's not too good. He must have. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what that is, but perhaps that was meant to be like a military shipment go over there.
Yeah, it could be.
Or maybe they want to get on a boat. They're like waiting to get in a boat and go to an island and gather resources or something like that. We'll see what he does. I just suck. He's identified it.
Yeah. Well, look at.
Oh no, Mitoe!
Warhide is going down. Sam had a very clear cut answer to what he wanted to do in this game, playing very aggressively, timed out his Puma shipment very well, and look at the position Mito's put himself in, frantically trying to get this Warhide up back in his base, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get it up. The Pumas may just siege it down before it even has a chance to finish. Look at how quickly it's going to go down.
Yeah, it's going down super quick, and I think that spells a very quick end to this third game here. Perhaps Samwise, 2 games in, is feeling... damn it, my opponent's 2 games up, and perhaps the tilt factor, the PJ Salt factor is kicking in here. We do see 10 Mace Holton pop out, and of course it's going to provide an adequate defense with the villagers sort of fighting. They are tanking damage, that adequately doing 10 extra damage in hand combat. They're not too bad, but all this time, that he's going to be losing villagers, or that at least they're not going to be gathering. And, that is true, especially whilst these villagers over here are still not gathering.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised he hasn't noticed that yet. I mean, that's 6 villagers. We have to remember, he sent 5 vills. Sam has sent only military units at this point. And so, despite the fact that the villager counts actually look fairly close, Sam, the second he sends his 5 villager shipment, is going to be very far ahead in terms of economy. And all that time, as you mentioned, Mitoe has not been gathering with those villagers, which is quite unfortunate.
600 wood does now come out for him. The problem is, though, is he going to be able to collect it up? If Samwise identifies that, he can just shoot the villagers and deny him that 600 wood there. Looks like Mitoe's decided he has no war hut. Perhaps he notices the villagers not gathering, or he just sees the units in his base and has decided that is going to end the game there, and he's no longer going to play this one out, and is going to take that loss. The score is now 3-0 in Samwise's favour after 2 close games, and a fairly decisive victory here on Indonesia.
Yeah, and I think that just came down to build order, honestly. Sam looks like he had a slightly better build order established, played a little bit more aggressively, and although you can always, say that Mitoe got those 2 villagers, he got the 1 villager cleanly, could have ducked back up, but then got greedy, went in for the 2nd villager, lost all of his coyotes as a result of that, and was never able to catch up. Samwise just dumped on the pressure, shipped 10 mace, 6 puma, 5 coyote, just kept everything going forward and never let him breathe. And that happens when you lose early military pressure, when both players are playing very aggressively. I mean, we've seen similar things happen in like Russia mirrors, where one player sends 5 Cossacks, the other player sends not 5 Cossacks, or sends something different after that, and you just lose the tempo. And after you've lost the tempo, it's so hard to get it back. Especially in a matchup like that, where there's so many military shipments that can flood out afterwards.
Tempo in AoE 3 is very important. Military units are more valuable than picking up an extra villager kill in raids. It's more valuable to you to be careful when you're raiding than it is to just, I can get that extra villager in kind of play, and all of the other things we mentioned here. But Mitoe, a kind, loving fellow, sending his villagers for a day trip at the beach.
And that's what they were doing. They were just chilling over there.
Yeah, they chilling on the beach. That does conclude the 3rd game in this series, though. Let's head on out to the next one.
Next map is going to be Manchuria, which is also, I guess, similarly a water-style map. So, could potentially see some water play here. I believe that both players can play any civ they choose. Mito stating in the game chat here that now that he's warmed up, he is going to win every single game. So expect a 4-3 in favor of Mito, I guess, if that's what he's saying.
He's got his warm-up done. His workout is he's ready. Mito changing from Aztecs to China here on this game number 4 is going to play as China on Manchuria. We'll see what Samwise does. What's funny, I only just got here, so I can't see what they're saying.
Mito said that he pested you by accident.
I did get an invite from somebody, I don't know, someone who wasn't Mito to Mito's game, and that threw me off a bit. I almost pressed yes. Yeah, but this is now match point for Samwise. He takes this next game, or any other game, one more game, and he takes the set and progresses to the semi-finals. And Mito, got his work cut out. He has to win 4 games in a row to not lose.
Yeah, it's an uphill task. I mean, if you're down 3-0, even if you're like down to a player who, you're better than, and you're down 3-0, it's still hard to win 4 games in a row, even against a player that you know that you're better than. But then to consider the fact that not only are you down 3-0, but you're down 3-0 to a player like Samwise12, who makes very few mistakes, is obviously well practiced in almost all matchups, and can throw a bunch of different looks at you, looks that you're potentially not used to, not ready to see on different maps and stuff like that. This is a huge uphill battle for Mito from this point moving forward.
It is. I'll have to see how many games, if any, Mito can take. I have faith in Mito. He's a strong player, and I didn't expect him to go out 4-0. I think Mito has a bit more left to give. And of course, in those first 2 games we watched, they were very close games. And Mito could have easily won that initial German mirror. And providing, if those units in the French game were up in the fight a bit sooner, or perhaps if they'd lost fewer units, that could have gone differently as well. Certainly the early skirmish is an interesting choice here. But Samwise12 does choose to match Mito's China with China. It looks like we may be going into our 4th mirror of the series on Mongolia here. Mito doesn't have to take it though. We'll see what map, if he chooses to change civilizations here. You can pick any except Ottoman and Iroquois. When does that reset happen, by the way?
I believe it's after the 4th game, so I think it's after this game. I think it's halfway through the map pool.
I see. Okay, so at this point, they cannot play any of the civs they've currently played so far, which are Germans, French, and Aztecs in that order. Looks like Mito taking a sec here, perhaps off to quickly take a break after 3 games here. This is an important match going ahead. If you're Mito at this point, you're not. Like, being 3 games down against such a good player is, I don't want to go ahead and talk about tournament nerves, but, and tilt and
I'd be crapping my pants if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, but at this point, you got to be feeling it, right?
Sure. The one good takeaway from Mito at this point is that I don't think that this is necessarily Samwise12's best matchup. I've been kind of underwhelmed with Sam's Chinese play in the whole tournament here, and as a result of that, if you're Mito, that's at least one good takeaway that you do have going forward. Also, you do have to remember, if you're Mito, after this game, you can go back to playing civs that are your top tier civs. He can play Germany again, which, as you mentioned, was such a close mirror. He definitely he can win that game, and maybe he even does win that game 50% of the time. It's just Sam got the better of him in that particular map and matchup. But certainly if he wins a game here, unlocks Germany, goes back to Germany, which he's very, very good with. Certainly could win 2, and then if you're Sam and you're up 3-0, and then all of a sudden you've lost 2 games in a row, your opponent's starting to make a comeback. Maybe you start to question yourself and you start to do weird things, and you start to think, well, maybe I just got lucky in that Aztec game because my opponent didn't really know what to do. Nerves can start going the other way as well at the same time. So,
and as I think we've said it before, right? Mito's primary civilization, the one that he would perhaps say his main is Germans.
Yep.
And because of that, if that's his strongest civ and it becomes available to him next, could do well. Needs to take a few minutes by the looks of it.
Yeah, I'm going to make a call here. I'm going to say that we're going to have a China mirror. It's going to be a 20-minute game. It's going to be very, very close, and Mitoe's going to win it. And then I think Mitoe will win the next 2 games as well.
Ooh, really?
And I think it's going to be Germany, a German mirror that Mitoe will win. And then on Hudson Bay, another French mirror that Mitoe will win. That's my call right here. I'm going to make that call for the next hour and a half of gameplay. That's, I think, the story of this tournament. And then I think for the last game on Tibet, we see another China mirror, and Sam wins it 4-3. That's my prediction. What do you think about that?
I think if that is right, I think you single-handedly win the betting tournament.
Yes. That's my bet. Like, what are my odds for making that prediction?
I have no idea what they'd be, but I'm sure Goodspeed can work it out. I want to be told.
Work out my odds for me.
I want to be told the odds on that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that's my prediction. I'm going to make a bold call. China mirror, Mitoe wins it on this map. And then we see a German and another French mirror. Mitoe wins both of those, and then Sam wins the final China mirror on Tibet.
What do you think of the possibility of Mitoe not taking mirrors from here on out? I mean, are we going to see a China mirror here? Mitoe, has gone away to take a few minutes. Perhaps he does need to cool off after, at this point in the series. If he loses another game, he's out. Perhaps he does need to take that time. But also, during that time, he could be thinking about the matchup here. Does he have to take China? I mean, obviously, in the rule set, he doesn't. But
what else is there?
Is there to play at this point without the ones that they've already played?
He can't play Germany. He can't play French, which I would say would be like the 2 options that you would want instead of China on this particular matchup. I don't think you want to play Brit on this map where it's fairly low hunt. If you're comfortable playing water, you could maybe play something like Portuguese or Brits and do some sort of water shenanigans, maybe Russia or something like that. But as we've seen, he doesn't really have a strong deposition towards water. So I don't think that we'll see him play anything water-oriented. It looks like it's just going to be a Chinese mirror.
Yeah, looks like it. Mitoe does click in, and Samwise shortly following it afterwards. Hold on one moment.
Here comes the vacuum cleaner. Maybe it's the washing machine again.
No, it's the kettle. It'll be gone shortly, though. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 4 in this best of 7 series between Mitoe and Samwise12. This is currently match point for Samwise, being 3-0 up in this set. The winner of the series will progress to the semi-finals, and the loser will be eliminated. This is a China mirror. The map is Manchuria, spawning in the left-hand side of the map. Or the south left, because that's the
south left.
The south left, of course. That's
your standard south left.
Yep. We do have Mitoe playing as the Chinese here, spawning with 3 wood crates and 2 food crates. I'll have to see what he has in mind for this. Of course, China has a very, very standard agenda when it comes to playing China, but certainly the mirror. There's not a whole lot of variety for them, but China mirror, I've said it before in previous games, it's going to come down to micro and who has the better unit control and who is able to micromanage and have really accurate precision on sort of unit control because of the sheer amount of units you have to control as China in the Fortress Age and the variety of different units that you can get. Of course, China have 2 different types of cavalry, and they'll have Chokanus and they'll have arquebusiers potentially, and all of these, lots of different types of units to control. And as a result of that, it could be quite tense for both players here. What do we see though? 90 wood.
Yeah, big wood treasure for Sam. And we can see he cut off his wood gathering incredibly early. He is banking on the fact that he's going to be able to get that treasure. Yeah. And it looks, with Mitoe's explorer retreating back, as you would say, to the south left, he's going to be able to easily pick that up. Yeah. Next time someone asks me like a direction, I'm gonna give them that. I'm gonna drop a south left and see what they What direction do I need
All
to turn?
right,
Just turn south left.
me and my directions, I get it. But yeah, 90 wood being picked up, and I've said it before, it's always nice to find a treasure that you can sort of weave into your early game build here, and that's exactly what Samwise has done. Has only 8 wood over gathered, and as it doesn't even matter that 8 wood. I think he actually collected that as a result of not finding the treasure fast enough, but getting that in means he's going to have more food gather time, going to be up to the next stage sooner, and this is all going to snowball into having his coin shipment sooner and getting up to the next stage sooner, and that really does put Samwise in a good spot for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and this has been spotted by both players, I believe, as well. I think they potentially saw each other here as well. Looks like Mitoe just going to opt for the safer option here, take the 50 wood treasure. Sam maybe is going to be able to get in there and snipe that. No, it looks like he's not going to be able to. Instead, going to bring his disciple over here and start taking this wood treasure as well, which Mitoe does have vision of, but can he pick up this wood treasure and get there in time to be able to contest this treasure gather?
He's on his way.
Very close.
I think he's going in that direction. No, he's not. He's not pathed in the other way. It looks like Samwise is going to pick up that treasure as well. It's worth noting that this 85 wood treasure is not going to be as influential as the other one, which got him up this village sooner. Which he used, of course, to get an extra villager out of northern refugees. It does, though, mean that he might be able to get or weave in a trading post perhaps earlier, and certainly more easily if he elects to do that with that extra wood. Mitoe does find 50 wood of his own, but at this point, Samwise is going to be very happy with the treasures that he has found. Let's take a look at the economy tab. Mitoe, though, does have extra yaks going for him. 9 yaks compared to his opponent's 3. And if he does manage to stabilize in the late game and doesn't get overwhelmed by the fact that his opponent is going to be up to the fortress stage sooner, the power spike from these yaks, and actually he's gathering some of the yaks now. Perhaps the food gather time from these yaks here that he has is going to mitigate his opponent's faster age up, and actually they're going to be very even.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because that was a point I was about to make as well. Yaks for China in particular, because they have essentially this, I guess, pseudo livestock pen available to them through their houses. Having that extra yak bonus is really, really nice, and so as a result of that, we can see that Mitoe's going to have a nice little advantage. Now, as you mentioned, also he did burn some of that advantage just so that he could catch up in age time a little bit. But at the same time, having that extra yak, especially on a map that doesn't have a ton of hunt, it's at some point, especially during FFs and tech-based timing plays, there's almost invariably a time when you run out of resources in your base and you feel some sort of a pinch. And if that extra yak can power you through for another minute or so, while you're trying to stabilize, trying to secure the map, be able to gather from somewhere, that can make all the difference in the world, just having that extra couple hundred food in your base that's very safe and very quick to gather.
I think so. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a bonus here. But both players are heading on up to the next stage now and collecting what we're looking at here.
Yeah,
Zen Temple going down. Okay, looks like some non-standard stuff coming out of Mitoe here. Does this tell us he has a colonial agenda in mind? Perhaps he's not going to be playing in the Fortress Age as normal. Perhaps some sort of native trading post rush. I believe the Zen Temple produces a pikeman-style unit that is got high siege damage, like a pikeman, and is good against cavalry. Perhaps he can knock down the opponent's town center or something crazy like that. We'll have to find out. I'm very curious to see what he has in mind now.
Yeah, he's gonna. He mentioned this to me briefly, and I didn't consider it. Like, the Sohi pikeman has very high siege, and I thought he was like almost trolling me when he said that he was potentially going to try it, but looks like he's decided it's good. He is training Sohi pikemen.
He's going for it. Oh boys, this is an interesting one. We do see 4 Sohi pikemen coming out, 38 siege attack with 140 hit points there. I'll have to see what his next shipment is. I'm very curious to see what his his first shipment is. 7 step riders, which of course is quite a large quantity of units. 7 units there. That they are weaker than standard cavalry, but is now going to walk in with his monk here, with his cavalry, and put on some colonial pressure. Whilst Samwise, I think, is entirely blind to this, unless of course he has noticed that his opponent's a native trading post up in the top of the map, where it displays what you've trading posts or if you built native villages or anything like that. He has sent 700 coin, has Samwise, and is heading on up to the next stage as standard. Collected nothing but food during transition, has not made any military buildings, and is now going up. But the cavalry going to come in here, force the villagers off the Wonder. Perhaps he can pick up a villager kill, but certainly going to slow the age up time down. I'm very curious to see if these Asawi will actually be useful. The cavalry Minutemen do come out, brutal.
Yeah, they're able to trap some of the step riders quite nicely. And so far, Sam hasn't even had to pull villagers off his Wonder. Now, he is likely going to lose at least one villager as an artifact of this rush, but, I mean, is it really worth it? Like, there has to be a lot of stuff killed here for Mitoe with this rush. And it is being somewhat effective. He's killed a village, almost got a villager there. He's applying a lot of pressure, going to throw Sam off a little bit. Maybe he has a chance to do enough damage that he can disrupt the play of Sam.
That's the question. Can he do enough damage here? These Soe Minutemen, not Minutemen, what are they, units, were doing damage versus villagers there. I'd like to see them on that village, take down the other villager. Here we do see Minutemen pop out, not Minutemen, oh god, they're units there. We know what's popping out here, we can see them. Yeah, Chokanu, gonna take these out, actually fairly effectively. The Soe doing, good damage since they were so close to them here, and there's quite, with the cavalry as well. If he can take this out before his opponent gets aged up, this village here, his opponent is not going to be able to send a military shipment, and is going to be quite far behind. We do see 4 disciples popping out. They're not, by no means useless. They're 80 food each, quite strong units that you can, well, they're not that strong, but certainly can be fielded in the fight here. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to kill this village, though. His opponent is going to be able to get a military shipment in queue. Yeah,
which is going to be absolutely huge for Sam. I think a bit of this rush that Mitoe is doing hinges on the fact that Porcelain Tower has become so popular. Of course, Porcelain Tower does give you that extra resource bonus, does trickle in resources, but unlike the Confucian Academy, which was the old standard, it does not give you that big spike of ranged units immediately upon aging, which can be quite helpful in holding pressure like this. And so we can see Sam's still opting for the Porcelain Tower age up, but I think it's going to be perfectly fine for him. I mean, we can see he's navigated his way around the pressure. He's going to be able to ship military units, or he can even ship like 1,000 wood or something like that if he needs to. And then we see 10 arquebusiers. He's going to be able to completely going to be completely fine. Yeah,
and I think that's a very interesting point you brought up with the Porcelain Tower. A very recent sort of metagame shift to something that is the equivalent of 8 villages. Very, very strong. But, without the 8 arquebusiers, well, if he did have those, that would shut down this sort of pressure entirely upon heading up to the next stage. Unfortunately, did not manage to bring down this village, which would have been absolutely insane if he couldn't queue a Fortress Age shipment. But, the 8 Shokanus and, of course, the Minutemen, definitely not going to let him do that here. Mitoe is going to age up behind this, has gathered the resources necessary for the age up. The question is, has he done enough early damage to his opponent to make sort of all the losses of the military units worthwhile? And I think the answer is no.
Yeah, take a look at the villager counts. He's only up 4 villagers, but the important thing he's behind so much time. Sam has had so much time in the third age here. He's established himself a tech advantage. He's got this arquebusier shipment out. He's trained some disciples. He's got his Porcelain Tower working away. And so even though Mitoe is going to be aged up, he is going to have his own Porcelain Tower. He's playing a severe game of catch up at this point. Not going to be able to have the strength of the units and
getting the TC villager.
I just don't know if he's going to be able to stabilize behind this when Sam is starting to train the very strong cavalry units, starting to power his way through his age 3 shipments. It's going to be very difficult for Mitoe from here on out just to catch up enough.
Yeah, but it does call his Minutemen and the Sentries as well, and is forcing Samwise out of his base here. But Sam is ahead in terms of just being,
Yeah, he's in a good spot. But at the same time, Mitoe is, he's somewhat stabilizing. The one thing we do have to remember behind this is Sam's build did not incorporate 700 wood, and as a result of that, his eco didn't get going quite as nicely. He didn't have a market up. He's only now building his consulate, which means no intervention shipment or anything like that. If Mitoe's able to pop out intervention here fairly, before Sam can really formalize the pressure here out front of Mitoe's base, maybe there's a chance just because of how strong the shipment is, but I don't think that's going to be possible. Seeing the 5 meteor hammers that have been sent, his barracks is fairly exposed, even his coin mine's a bit exposed, and from this point moving forward, it's going to be really tough for Mitoe to catch up.
I think so too. And take a look at the chat here. He says, I shouldn't have done this. I've never done it before. Perhaps cobbling this together as, that's perhaps what his break was, thinking about this strategy. And despite having done it again, there's the loss. Looks like Mitoe is eliminated from the tournament. Samwise12 progresses to the semi-finals, along with, well, we're not sure yet. The next game in this sort of set is yet to be played. But that does end this series. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. But I was making a point, and I would like to finish it. It's interesting that he did do some damage. He didn't. If he'd taken out that village and executed the build a bit better, as perhaps a result of, he says, I haven't done this before. If he, had some practice, it could have been a lot stronger. And I think, he did have the surprise potential. It could certainly have taken Samwise off guard. If this village had gone down, imagine how strong this sort of play would be, and then we'd be into the next portion of the game where he can sort of play Germany again. But Samwise...
But the thing is that village ever going to go down? With the combination of Minutemen, disciples being trained from the monk, and a batch of units popping out from the Summer Palace like they always do. That first batch of units always comes right around 6.5 or so minutes. Is he ever going to be able to siege down both villages, especially if one of them is super defensively placed?
Yeah.
I don't think the answer is yes. I think the answer is almost going to always resoundingly be no. You're not going to be able to siege down 2 villages. And putting yourself that all in, investing 200 wood into a trading post on a native site, investing into a 7 step rider shipment, which step riders aren't the greatest unit. I mean, at least they are a cavalry unit, but they're not that great of a unit.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't able to make it work. I don't know that it necessarily.
And I think you're right with the village there. I mean, he did a lot of damage there. It's certainly possible, but with all the things you're mentioning, Pep. Well, when I say it's certainly possible, I'm actually trying to say it's sketchy with the 8 Chokanos, as you mentioned, and all of the other units you can get together.
If it was out of range of the town center fire, that would be something that you would maybe have to consider.
Perhaps he should have eaten those yaks a bit quicker as well. Maybe he just didn't identify that the yaks had to be eaten, in his base. Like he didn't use all of the yaks in his base to age up. He should have perhaps eaten them quicker. Maybe small things like this, and if that Zen temple, perhaps he ought to have built the one closer to his opponent, though that might be out of range. Actually, it probably is too close to his opponent's town center to be built.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
I think this build is interesting, and I don't think it should necessarily be written off straight away, but due to the points you did bring up, yes, that village, it looks tough. Though it is at half health, it's worth pointing out. Yeah. But that ends the series, right? Any concluding comments? Thank you for playing, Mitoe. 2 very, very close games initially. Yeah. And had this batch gone through, we're back to Germans again. Mitoe's strongest civ. And of course, I think Mitoe a worthy opponent for Samwise12. But does take the 4-0 loss.
Yeah, and it's tough. Like we mentioned, the first 2 games were so close. They could have gone... This could be 2-2 right now, honestly. With how close those first 2 games were, this could be 2-2 right now. And we could be looking at a completely different picture. But... certainly no shame in losing to Samwise12. Sam has proven to me one thing with this resounding victory is that he is back on form. Like, he has been playing and training fairly seriously for this, and now that Black Star is out, now that Kinesi is out, we have some pretty high level players left.
But it is anyone's game, and I'm guessing that is the point you were about to make. There.
This is wide open. I feel like Sam is in a very good position now. I mean, I thought this was going to be his first big test, seeing whether or not he was going to be able to beat Mitoe. And not only did he beat Mitoe, but he did quite convincingly. So Sam looks to be back on form, which for anyone else remaining in this tournament has to be a scary thought.
Yeah. Wow, what I so wanted this to work. I was actually Samwise12, absolutely love him, but everyone loves the underdog, right? And I was hoping Mitoe, the dark horse, would pull it through. But that does end his tournament life for the summer. Perhaps see him again during the spring. Thank you very much for watching, everybody.